All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. My name is Bethany AuHoy. I'm one of the career consultants at the University Career Center. We are so glad that you joined us today to talk about professionalism and personal branding. At the end, we'll definitely have time for questions. If you have any questions as we're going through, feel free to put them in the chat. All right, so let's talk about professionalism and personal branding. So, most of you have probably heard the term personal branding. Jeff Bezos, I'm sure everyone is familiar with him, owner of Amazon, was quoted saying, "Personal branding is what's said about you when you're not in the room." So it's your brand. It's, hey, what's out there said about you? What are you putting out there about yourself? And so there's lots of things that go into that, into personal branding. So we're going to jump into these. And that goes hand in hand with professionalism, right? Um, you more than likely want professionalism as part of your personal brand. And so we're going to go through and talk about ways to really make that a positive thing and really help you be intentional with your personal brand. So some things that go into it, right? So let's talk about a firm handshake. I think everybody's heard of that. You want to go in with confidence and really, again, be intentional. So go in with a firm handshake when you're meeting people. Those first impressions are really important. I'm going to skip around a little bit on this list. So speaking of first impressions, I know most of us, when you first meet somebody or you're about to, maybe you've been a part of an interview or you're about to meet someone new for the first time and a different thing, what's the first thing we likely do, right? We go straight to Google. So it's important. Google yourself, see what pops up. Is it some pictures from high school from your Facebook that you forgot were out there? Um, is it your LinkedIn account and some things that you've posted on there? So again, especially if you've been on social media for a while, and maybe in your earlier years, high school years, early college years, you really want to be mindful of what's out there and start getting control of that because you really want to get ahead of it before it gets ahead of you. So again, something to really keep in mind. And there's LinkedIn versus Instagram versus Facebook. Right. So part of your personal brand is going to be being consistent. So on your LinkedIn account, are you posting all of these industry related articles, these ways to be professional, these ways to do your job search? And then your Instagram and Facebook might show quite a different story of other things. So it's really important, again, to be mindful and consistent. So you want to make sure that you are sending a message across the board, no matter what platform you're on. Now, of course, Instagram is Facebook is more for friends and family, but it's really important to know that if you've put it out there on the internet, pretty much anyone can find it and see it and be a part of it. And so you just want to make sure, no matter who sees it, that you're okay with it. So something to really keep in mind. Accountability, right? So even that just comes down to the friends that you make, the places you work, you want people to be able to depend on you. So what does that look like? In the workplace, that's meeting deadlines, that's being punctual. I can rely on you. You want that to be part of your personal brand. Pleasant demeanor and attitude. I think all of us have, met someone who wasn't pleasant, didn't have a great attitude, whether that's in your personal life or in your professional life within an internship or part-time jobs or full-time jobs, you know what that's like. So you don't want to be that way. So it's really important to kind of get your attitude check, maybe ask for feedback from friends, family, coworkers. Like, overall, do you feel like, am I being pleasant? Try to get some feedback because you may just be quiet. That may be kind of part of who you are, which is fine. But you want to make sure, you're not coming off as having a bad attitude. An ability to be adaptable, that's huge in the current workforce right now. Um, all of you have had to do that major shift from in-person classes to the online setting due to COVID. So that ability to adapt was huge, right? If you weren't able to adapt, you might have really struggled. So it's being able to say, hey, we're pivoting, we're changing. What can I do? How can I make this work? That's really important for people to see. Individual versus team player, right? Everyone wants someone that's a team player that can jump in and help out when needed, that wants to help out their teammates also meet their goals, those type of things. So these are all bits and pieces that are crucial for professional branding, regardless of what industry you're going into, regardless if we're talking part-time jobs, internships, full-time jobs, even getting into graduate school. This is extremely applicable. All right, so now we're going to personal image and attire. right? You're likely going to see somebody for the first time before you've had a chance to really get a talk to them, unless you had a phone interview or something first. But it's important to keep in mind your professional image and attire. So we're going to get into business professional and business casual. Now, grooming and personal hygiene is something to really be mindful of, right? When you're in college and you're busy and you're doing different things, that may not be the highest on your list. You may not be getting up every morning, getting completely ready, doing that whole thing. But it's important as you start entering this professional atmosphere that you're very intentional with your grooming and personal hygiene. 'Cause we're no longer in college, right? We're heading into these professional atmospheres where the standard is much higher. Casual Fridays, that's something we'll get into as well. That's very common in most places of work. But the definition of casual can be very different depending on who you ask. So, the best thing to keep in mind, you'd rather kind of overdo it and overdress than show up in shorts and a t shirt and everyone else, was khakis and a polo shirt or whatever. So, again, ask, find out. It's better to err on the side of caution. Everyone's probably heard this phrase: dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So that's really a great way to walk in. They can take you very seriously. They see that you're wanting to be taken serious by dressing more professional, by dressing again for the part you want, maybe not the part you currently have. Any questions so far? All right. So this is just a quick visual to talk about business professional and job interviewing attire. I think one of the biggest things is, people want to really stand out. So they do the bright colors or lots of jewelry or really done up makeup and hair. And unfortunately, depending on the industry, it's more than likely going to be more distracting and maybe make you stand out in not a positive way. So you want to stand out with your interview and how you speak and your experiences that you've had and what you're going to bring to the table, not the outfit that you came in with. So you want to come off it, we want to be very professional, very pulled together. Solid, dark, and neutral colors are the way to go. Light colors can be worn underneath. So again, kind of no stripes, no bright colors, bright prints. There's a rare occasion where if you're in a super creative industry and you've already met some of the people and it's very laid back and then you might have a little bit more leeway in those industries, but you still want to um, appear that you're taking it serious. So even in those, you still want to um, dress up more than the person that's interviewing you. So suit jacket, pants, and skirts should be matching colors. Again, super important to not take cell phones in with you. So this could be for interviews, meetings, things like that. You want to have that thing off. If there is an emergency or something that might be coming up, you could always let the people in the meeting know, hey, I'm really sorry. I have a family member in the hospital or my kiddo's sick or something, I need to keep my phone near me. If I look, that's what it's about. So again, letting people know, but that should only be used in extreme emergencies and certainly not during interviews. So again, I think you can kind of get a visual for someone walking into an interview. If they've got handfuls of stuff and things falling out of their purse or backpack, it doesn't come off as very pulled together or professional. So it's good to get organized beforehand and just bring your essentials. So just a portfolio, your professional bag, something very simple that you can bring in and again, not have to juggle quite a few things. So when you're walking into that interview, this is the beginning of your personal brand. Besides, they've already seen your resume and they more than likely have Googled you, but this is the first time they're seeing you in person. So it's really important to keep all these things in mind. All right, business casual. So I think again, this is pretty common. So this is, ties are optional. You can wear skirts, dresses, things like that. You would still want to be everything ironed, everything clean, hair, nails, makeup, all that good stuff, clean, neat. Business casual, a little bit more laid back. So you don't have to wear a full suit on those type of days. So it's again important to ask good questions, do your research ahead of time before you enter into an interview, and certainly before you start your first day. You really have a good understanding of the expectation with dress and clothing. All right. So again, I still want you to keep in the back of your mind personal branding while we're talking about all of this. Every email you send, every phone call you make, every text that you send to your coworkers, these are all a part of your professional brand. So this is where you really want to watch how you're wording things, watch how you're speaking, take time to think about it. And we're going to get into these in more detail in just a second. But I think it's important to remember all of these kind of fall into one category because it's really easy to say, hey, texting's much more laid back. It's, I can be a little more informal versus maybe oral written with my boss, oral written communication. So again, good to again just be very intentional. All right. So with the oral communication, um, think before you speak. I know a lot of times some of us can get really excited and you just want to be involved. And then sometimes you end up saying something you wish you hadn't. So the best thing, take a breath. Especially when you're new and starting off, it's important to really listen and take time in order to articulate your thoughts and ideas before voicing them out loud. Now, I still encourage you, we encourage you to speak up in meetings and things like that. Again, it's just important to take time to get it out and really think about it. Slowing down your speech and enunciating clearly, that's something I certainly struggle with, especially if it's a topic I'm passionate about or excited about. I just want to get it all out there quickly. And I've had to get feedback of, hey, how is my tone? How is my speech? And I've been given that feedback of, hey, just take a deep breath and slow down. So that happens to everybody, regardless of where you are in your career. It can happen to any of us. So remember to listen and connect with your coworkers and audience. Again, listening is such a crucial skill. I'm sure we all know people that are more waiting to talk instead of listening, and no one really enjoys that because they can tell. So again, especially when you're new, it's so important to listen and take things in and process. And take those time to ask those good questions that show that you are being thoughtful about the topic. It helps you connect with your coworkers and your bosses. That goes a million miles when you're really taking that time to connect with people. So written communication. So this is obviously this goes for work emails, reports you're turning in, things like that. But this can also be within social media. So again, being once it's written and out there, it's really hard to take back. So I'm sure we've all sent an email, and as you were clicking send, you saw that misspelled word, or you saw, oh my gosh, I'm sending this to the wrong person. And the best way to handle that is take time to write your emails. Maybe have if it's a really important one, have a friend or a coworker read it first, save it in drafts, really be intentional. Proofreading is big. You misspell a few words and quickly, people might say, "Oh, I don't she's not very detail oriented or he's not really paying attention or I'm not sure, he's really, wanting to be a part of this. It doesn't seem like he's taking it serious." So little things can really, set a tone. So important to keep in mind. Effective communication, again, very crucial. Uh, Knowing your audience is a big part of it. Who am I talking to? What are they wanting to get out of this presentation or this report? What were they asking for initially in this email? Um, Listen before speaking. So we kind of talked about that beforehand. It's really important to take that time to listen and understand what's being said to you before you respond, and willing to ask for help. Again, all of these things are part of your personal brand. Are you the person that really listens and takes time to understand the topic before asking questions? Are you the person that's always willing to ask for help if you need it? So again, all of these things very important. All right, teamwork and collaboration. All right, so you've been hired on for the internship, for the full-time job, for whatever experience it is. And this can even apply to classwork as well. Are you are now a we. So you are no longer just you doing your thing, applying for positions and jobs. You are a part of the company. So you've got to keep in mind. Now, not only are you thinking about your own personal branding, how am I coming off professionally? But now you're thinking about, hey, what is the company brand? How does my personal brand fit with the company brand? So you want to make sure that those things align. Um, the company is also how they're trying to market themselves as well. All right. Being very tactful and respectful of others, it's a huge one, right? We've all worked with people that maybe didn't have that respect, and it can make things really difficult and hard to get your job done. Being loyal and dedicated. Again, I know we've heard these words 1,000 times, and they can kind of lose their meaning over time. But we all know people, right, that you work with, whether in class, work, school, even friends, right? Are they loyal? Are they dedicated to what they do? Commitment to the company's mission. So what does that look like? Well, you have to know your company's mission first, right? And then ask questions and talk with your boss, maybe your coworkers, like how is my work showing commitment to the mission? How am I helping? And then of course, do your job and do it well. You're getting paid. This is your time. Um, this is hours in your day you're not going to get back. So you've got this job. Let's do it well, and then you can move forward. All right. Any questions so far? All right. Social awareness. So this is another component, right? So it's called your emotional intelligence, right? Your EQ. So yeah. So I have a student talking about social anxiety. That's a real thing that a lot of people have a hard time with, especially after most of us have been home and quarantining for a year. So getting back out there amongst a lot of people can be really hard. And again, I students mentioning that, they have a hard time talking to people and can get awkward. I think a lot of us can relate with that. And there's some ways to kind of start putting yourself back out there, right? Um, Start getting involved in some student orgs and slowly get involved. Maybe make it a goal to talk to one or two people in class when we get back in person. Those two things, just slowly, kind of incorporating yourself back into it. Um, and it can be challenging for sure. All right. So other pieces of social awareness, don't get involved in office gossip. It can be very easy um, to fall into a conversation. All of a sudden, you hear it going south. They're talking badly about coworkers or the boss or something just negative. So a great thing to do there is, oh, hey y'all, I've got important meeting come up. I've got to go prepare for, and you can excuse yourself. Um, because you don't want people to assume that you were a part of that conversation. It's just best to stay away from that because it can turn toxic pretty quickly. Another piece of social awareness, so not barging into offices in cubes, always knocking. If you see someone that looks very intent and serious and they're typing away, probably not a good time to come chat, right? So again, just taking the time to take in what you're seeing and what's going on. Being mindful of shared spaces. I know that most of you have dealt with this in class and I'm sure elsewhere, but where everyone is in a quiet room studying, you've got the one person talking on their phone. We'll translate that into a work setting. You got a bunch of people working in cubes, and one person is playing really loud music or banging their pencil loudly on the desk. It's good to say, "Oh, hey, like I'm not in my own office. People can hear what I do. It's probably distracting. Let's not do that. Maybe I need to go outside and take a walk if I'm, feeling antsy or something." But again, just be aware of your surroundings and what you're doing. And there's solutions for these things, right? Use headphones so that your music isn't blaring for everyone to hear. A good thing to remember is you're always on display, and that can be hard because we get in our heads, you're doing your thing. Um, you kind of forget, but especially in the work environment, I'm sure you guys have heard this as well. Just when you're starting off for an interview, the second you get out of your car, think that you're on your interview. And I would even think about it before you leave your house. We've had stories of students, you know, cutting off someone in traffic and they end up driving to the same place of work where they're trying to interview, and they just cut off the person that was in their interview. Things like that happen. Um, so again, it's just really important to be mindful of um, what you're putting off at any given time to make sure it's the personal brand and the reputation that you're wanting to put out there. All right, so let's talk about some barriers to effective communication. And there's lots of these things, and sometimes we're not even aware of them. So this is another good time to maybe ask close family or friends to give you some feedback on these things. So body language and nonverbal communication. So if you walk up and you see someone kind of with a scowl on their face and their arms are folded and they're staring at the ground, that's maybe not someone I'm going to approach. Um, So again, what are you putting off that doesn't even mean that you're talking? What are you putting off just by sitting there? Some people choose not to listen, right? They're intentionally on their phone while someone else is speaking. They're doing something different. They're making that choice. Is obviously a huge barrier to effective communication. Making assumptions. So I think we've all been guilty of that. You see something or hear a partial message about something and you assume the rest of it. That isn't helpful. You want to go straight to the source, ask questions out of curiosity, not from being judgmental, to really get the full picture of what's going on. Another issue can be conflicting messages. Maybe you get a message from a coworker about something, and then the boss tells you something different. Well, hey, what do you do there? You go to your boss and you say, hey, I'm a little confused. I just want to really make sure that I have a thorough understanding of this. So that's the best thing to do there. Emotional distractions, right? So we've all got personal lives. Things can happen, right? And so it's important to know, hey, I've got some things going on to be mindful throughout my day to continue to be professional and do my job. And I'll deal with this personal thing on the side. So either that means I need to take a day off to really gather my thoughts, or I need to have lunch by myself to really take time to calm down or to get focused. So there's different things there. But again, the big thing is just being intentional and aware of these behaviors. All right, we're getting close to the end. Career management is another piece we want to talk about. So being aware of the rules. So know about your company, know about what they're looking for, know about their expectations early on. What are they looking for from you? What are the different kind of nuances that are part of this industry, part of this company that you need to be aware of? A big thing is, discussing progress and feedback from your supervisor. Most places of business do performance evaluations. It's not always wise to wait until that time to ask for feedback, right? Because if you only have an end of year performance eval, you don't want to wait till December to have that conversation. You want to be having that conversation ongoing. And again, if that's not something your boss is bringing to you, it's important to bring that to them. Of hey, I'd really love feedback on how I'm doing so far. How can I improve? What are things that would be helpful? Those are all really great questions because it really shows that employer you're wanting to do a good job. You want to make sure you have an understanding of the expectations for you. So, all really great things to ask. Understanding the company culture and adapting to that. Again, this comes from sitting, listening, taking it in, watching, and asking those questions, right? So again, you can really understand quickly what's expected. I think we've all been in this situation where 6 months into a class or um, a work setting, and then you found out this rule that you were the only one not following it or that you weren't aware of. So again, it's about asking those questions early on. Any questions so far? All right. Well, we are at the question slide. So I really appreciate you all joining us today. It's been a really great presentation. Any other questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. I know not everyone is comfortable with speaking them out loud. So I will certainly give you a second if you have any questions to let me know. But there is a lot to personal branding, and it can feel overwhelming. I don't think anyone would expect you to have your personal brand perfectly laid out in this stage. It's just certainly important to really start thinking about it, start making some intentional moves. And really, a great way to start is checking out your social media and making sure everything that's on your social media is what you want out there for people to see. And if it's not, let's start deleting photos. Starting fresh, starting new. All right, so I have a question. How do I seem professional if I am very messy and disorganized? Well, I would say, hey, you know what? Get on get on YouTube. Let's look at ways to maybe basically start getting organized. So is that all right? I'm going to start using an Outlook calendar to really keep myself busy. So I think the biggest thing there is working on becoming more organized, working on becoming less messy. So I think maybe set small goals for yourself each week with, hey, I've got all of these papers. Start organizing them into binders. Get yourself, again, using some sort of online calendar can be really helpful. Taking notes on many different apps that can help clean up some of that paperwork that you've got maybe scattered around. So there's lots of great tips out there on how to get organized. Again, check out LinkedIn Learning. You all have access to that. If you're not on LinkedIn, we highly encourage you to get on LinkedIn. Um, Lots of great videos on talking about getting organized and getting kind of polished and professional. You can also meet with us at the Career Center, and we can kind of talk to you about some of those things as well. But really great question. So now is certainly a time to maybe set that goal for yourself to start getting organized. So that way, when it's time to get out there, you can already have that a goal that you've already been working on. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. Oh, I see typing. So I want to make sure I get this question answered. Again, there's a lot to this, and it's certainly not something you can take care of in a day. Um, Okay, yeah. So there's definitely different ways. We're talking about how to get maybe if you don't have like a ton of professional outfits, which a lot of times students at this point don't because you haven't done um, you haven't had to be in these positions. You haven't had to build up that wardrobe. So there's the comic closet that's done through the School of Management. And if you want to, I will put my email in the chat. If you want to email me, I will get you the Comic Closet info. And there's lots. So they have really great clothes and suits and professional attire just for this very reason. Students that um, just don't have those clothes, don't have the means to get those clothes. It's very common. You can go through the Comic Closet and rent out some clothes for free for those interviews. So I have put my email in the chat. If you would email me, if you have those, if you would like that information, I can get that to you. There's also lots of secondhand stores in the area that I honestly personally have been to, and they have really nice professional outfits for a fraction of the cost. So again, those are all really great places. But yes, please email me and I will get you that information for the Comic Closet. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. These were really, really great questions. If you think of anything else, please feel free to reach out to me at that email below, and I will be happy to help out. All right. Well, everyone, have a really great day and rest of your week. And thank you again for taking time out of your day to join us. And we'll hopefully start seeing you all at the Career Center in the fall. Bye bye.